Today I'm going to have another go at abstract painting, and as you know, if you've seen some of my other videos, I'm on a bit of a learning journey, but I want to test out what this Crackle medium will look like on a whole painting. Just out of interest, really. So stick with me and let's find out. Now I'm going to put a base colour down of white, and I don't want this white to dry too quickly, and it's quite warm in my studio today. So I've got this acrylic paint extender here, and I'm going to add some of that to it. It says don't add more than 25%, so that should be fine. And this will allow the acrylic paint to stay wetter longer, so it's not going to dry out quite as quick. Now I need to make sure that I've got that thoroughly mixed in, as if not I'll have bits that dry some places and bits that don't in others. And that's not what we're looking for, is it? I've had that a long time, that fluid extender, and it's moved around with me so many times, but I never really used it before, so I have no idea what it's like. A tiny bit more in. And that should be mixed up now well enough. And all I'm going to do is give this canvas board I'm using today, rather than a canvas, a coat of this all the way over. And hopefully that's not going to dry out really quickly. Did you see my video on paint pouring where I did a paint pour for the first time? Oh my goodness me, was that a disaster. That is so much harder than I ever thought it would be. Check that out if you haven't seen it. I'll link it below. There we go, so that's all on there now. Now what I'm going to do is run some colours through this in some random patterns and shapes. And it has stayed wet, which is great, because I think if it hadn't, that would have been dry by now. That makes no sense whatsoever. Of course it would have been dry by now if it wasn't wet. And all I'm doing is putting random shapes in here of some different colours. I'm going to try and leave a little bit of white in there as well, because I think the white shining through actually can sometimes make it look really nice. And then this is going to be my under picture of these colours. And I quite like that as a base colour and a base pattern. There's a little bit of white coming in, and you can see those colours in there that have mixed up quite well. And now I'm not going to let this dry. I'm going to go ahead and start putting some other colours on it as well. I'm going to start with a tiny bit of black into some places as well, because I think the black always gives it a really nice contrast with some of the other colours that are there. But I don't want to overpower a painting with the black. And then I'm going to brush that out like that. If I need any more in there, I can always put a little bit more in. Or if it's too much, I can just go over it again with this same brush, take some of that out. I need a little bit more down here, I think. I think there's enough here. It's not quite balanced enough, so that should do. Yeah, I quite like that. I think that's come out quite nice. And now I'm going to pop some red in there as well on top to bring that red nicely out, and do something very similar. See, I've covered up all that white again. I do tend to do that. I just get carried away and cover up the white. I may go in with a little bit more natural white without it having the retarder in it to go from there. Hopefully that'll bring out some of that black. And the texture from this is going to hopefully come from the Crackle paint and these brush strokes that I've put in this once this picture is dry. I'm now going to go in just with a little bit more of that yellow, so it's got that little bit more richness to it. Bring it up beside that where I've put that black as well. A bit more of the red, then very little bit of perhaps a little bit more of that black on top. Don't want the black to be the dominant thing. I literally just want it there as a real contrast. And now all I'm doing is going in and doing single swipes in different directions of the colours I've used. I'm trying to give them a bit of a curve as well as my over or my top bit of this painting. And how I'm doing that is I'm just putting a little bit of paint on my brush, on the tip, swiping it through really quickly. And so it stays on the top as opposed to blending in with some of the other bits of paint that is here. And there we go. I'm finished now with what I want to do with that. So I'm going to let that dry now, which probably will take several hours because I put that extender in it, and then we can test out what happens to it with the Crackle medium. This has been drying overnight now, and I'm going to put the Crackle paste on it. And this is the Crackle medium by Folk Art. All I'm going to do is squeeze some of this on like that, and then take a brush, brush that over. I have no idea how this is going to work, or even if it is going to work. But my son has already seen this picture and said, Dad, I really like that. It reminds me of flames and things. So can I have it in my new house? He might not want it once he's seen what it turns out like after this. I think that's covered that now. And all I need to do is let that completely dry. And then once that's completely dry, I can then pop the varnish over the top of it. And we'll see if that crackles. Well, this is nice and dry now, which is excellent. So I can put the varnish on. I'm using a gloss varnish, a clear gloss varnish, because if not, what it does is it fills in the crackle. So I really just want to go over it, each area, just the once. So like that, and I'll move down again, and I'll move down again. So now I will definitely not go over any of the pieces that I've already done, because if you do, it fills in the crackle. As soon as it starts to dry, it fills in those crackles. And now we'll leave that to dry and we'll see if that does anything. It might not do anything and it might just end up as a gloss finished piece. Well, this is dried now and it has definitely crackled in there, but it's not really showing very well. More in this area as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a pastel and I'm going to scrape off some of the colour like this onto the side, just using a blade. Take a clean cloth, get that in there and see if that will bring out some of those crackles. And it is. Oh, it's definitely bringing them out. And I don't want them too heavy because I don't want to spoil the colour of the picture, but I do want to be able to see some of them. Look, there it's definitely bringing them out. And it's going to be more crackled in different areas as well because of the different thickness that I used of the actual crackle paste itself. Those ones are coming out nice. Not so many up here. It's probably because I did go over it a second time, which is what I said don't do. But, you know, it is really a case of do what I say and not what I do. Because I'm terrible. Well, those ones up there in that corner have come out. If you used a much darker colour pastel, then obviously those crackles would show a lot more in those areas, but I don't want that. Give it a quick polish over. I really like the way that that's come out. Can you see those crackles now are showing all the way through? I think my abstract painting is certainly coming on, and I'm learning something new every time I do it. I do like that. I do like the way that those crackles now, you can see them, but they're not really in your face. So as you're walking past this picture, you are going to be able to see them, and they've highlighted really quite well. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think, or if you do abstract art, suggestions you've got for me. I love learning from people. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Boot that like button, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of my future videos and experiments and things. Take care, enjoy your crafting. Bye.